And then when I started reading it, I was like, what? But it was like, eh. And then I'm like, okay, like, huh? Okay, hi, welcome back to another video. So as you have seen from the title and the thumbnail, today we are going to be talking about my worst books of 2025. I rewatched my own video for 2024 and I don't think I have as much rage towards the books this year, but we shall see. I have a lot of them physically though, so that's kind of sad. I'm just gonna talk about it. As every year I'll do a disclaimer. If the books that you like are listed here, please do not be offended because you may not like my favorite books as well. Everybody's reading is subjective, okay? So don't attack people's book tastes. So last year, I realized that I categorized books according to categories, and I thought that was quite apt because at the end of the day, I think my ratings are bullshit. No. At the end of the day, I just think that objectively, I will rate this book a certain way, but the rating doesn't define my emotion towards it because it may be an okay book that I just thought it was meh and I gave it 3 stars. And another book can get 3 stars, but I would feel more disappointed towards it because I was expecting a lot more. So that's about it. I'll just go by categories and then maybe I'll put my rating there if I decide to do so. So without further ado, let's start off with the books that I don't remember. Oh, okay, before I forget, if I read any of these books in a video, they will be linked up above as much as possible. Okay, let's start with the first category in that I read these books and I rated them relatively low, but I don't remember anything about these books, like anything at all, okay? First, we have A Magical Girl Retires by Park So-yeon. Oh my god, can you see the dust? Because I've put this away to be unhauled. I'm so sorry, Times Reads. I'm very thankful for the review copy, but I just didn't enjoy this and I don't remember why. I gave this 3 stars. Then next we have Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I gave it 2.5 stars. I really don't remember. I remember like I read the second book. Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, and I enjoyed that one more than this one. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, I gave it 2.5 stars. Out of the Woods, I gave it 2.25 stars. I read it for the Goodreads video, but I totally don't remember anything about the story. And if I didn't have it on record that I read it, I would have told you that I have never read this book. That's how much I don't remember it, okay? I guess I burned it off my memory. Next, we have The Off Limits Rule by Sarah Adams. I wanted to love this because I love Sarah Adams, who wrote The Practice Makes Perfect and When in Rome series. This is one of her earlier works, and I could tell. I don't really remember the story itself. Okay, wait. Some parts of it are coming back to me, but I don't remember why I don't like it. To give it like a 2.25 star. Let me just casually see if my Goodreads has any clue, okay? Okay, so it's apparently because of the writing and then also the fact that I didn't feel any chemistry between the characters and they were more like instantly drawn towards each other, so like insulars. And then we have How to Make Friends with the Dark. So this one, I was in a time wherein I was trying to find a book that would make me get out of a reading slump. So I wanted this to be the book, but it wasn't for me. So this one focuses a lot on grief and how her mom died, and so the grief that comes with that. But I really didn't feel anything for this. I was expecting it to hit very hard and I would like cry along with this book or like feel for the character, but it kept going on and on and on about the grief and how it's difficult and it's like a process and everything, and it's like I know all that. So I wanted to feel it with you instead of you telling me. And I really didn't feel anything for this while reading this, other than the part where she yelled at her mom and afterwards she realized that her mom died after that, and it's like the regret and the guilt and everything, because I understand how that would feel. But the afterwards is like I expected the character to go on like a healing journey, but I was just kind of not impressed. Yeah, so I give this 2 stars. Okay, the category that I don't really think really deserves to be in this video, but they're just meh books, okay? They are just meh. First, we have The Wedding People. So The Wedding People, I read this for, I believe, the Goodreads winners video because this won the best fiction in 2024. So this one is about Phoebe Stone, who arrives at this inn and she's there because she's now at rock bottom and she is going to have like one last splurge on herself. And then when she enters, she realizes that there is a wedding happening at the inn. The bride discovers what Phoebe's plan is and she doesn't want like her to do anything that will spoil her wedding, right? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Phoebe was planning to commit suicide. I didn't have much thoughts for it actually, other than the fact that it was just a mere book. It's more of chick lit because that's essentially the whole plot, what I just shared with you, and that's about it. Like, I really didn't feel much about it, so I just gave it a 3.5 stars. So yeah, next book is Mile High by Liz Tomford, and this is quite popular on, I believe, Book Talk. And I had high hopes for this. Basically, this one is about Xanders, who is a Chicago hockey player. He and his team will always fly around during the season to different places to play the games, right? And they have like their own private jet and like their personal flight attendants. And our female main character is Stevie, who took on this new flight attendant job recently. So Xanders gives her attitude, I think, and then she is like a diva who like stands up for herself, and then it like catches Xander's attention, and then the story develops from there as their relationship develops. And this is also plus size representation. Stevie is plus size. So what I mentioned was because I was quite excited for this, was because of the hype firstly, and also when I started reading it I was very engaged. The writing isn't the best, but it kept making me want to continue reading. But then in the end I gave it like 3 stars because ultimately it was because of the fact that the book was really long. It's like about 500 pages, and I've never had a book convince me why more than like, I don't know, 400 pages is needed for a romance. I thought this book would convince me, but it ended up not doing so. I also couldn't stand how Xanders was acting at the start of the book, even though it's meant to be like a facade because he has this like whole reputation going on for him that helps with the media and everything. I still didn't like the character. No matter how good he was at the end, I couldn't stop thinking about how much of an asshole he was at the start. Also, the writing was quite cringe. There was like mentions of, for example, award-winning dick, and also multiple mentions of going south or traveling north, the hands and everything. And it's like, okay, there was more, but I just didn't like, write it down. I will be reading the other books though, just maybe not so soon, because I have heard good things about the later books in the series. This was an okay read, it's just meh. Okay, next is A Court of Wings and Ruin. So this year I finally read the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I guess it will be spoilers, but one of the books in the series is my best books, and this is in my worst books because I felt like this was an okay read. It didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. I just wanted more for it. Basically, I can't talk much about this book in particular, just that I think it also suffered from the fact that I was being too immersed in this world. Okay, so there were parts that excited me more and there were parts that I was bored by, and it's a very thick book. And then I was also suffering from the fact that I was getting a bit tired by the time I was in the third book in the series. And also, I read the Throne of Glass series before I read this one, which is reverse chronological order as to how the author published the books. So Agota came out first, and I felt that Throne of Glass was done better, so this one didn't really hit for me. So I ended up with a 3 stars, and I didn't want to continue reading the series, so I stopped there. And then the last book in this category is Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. So this one, I read this because I was trying to find recommendations for books that were similar to Practice Makes Perfect. Actually, I don't even remember much of this book or like why this was recommended as a similar book, because it doesn't really hit that way. Because I was expecting more, partly because of the recommendation, and also because this story, our main character, he's an undertaker, so he deals with corpses and everything. So I thought we would talk more about that, but it felt more like okay, let's choose like a fun job for our main character, and then let's not go in depth about it. And also the female main character, she just wants a friends with benefits situation with him, but he's more worked for her. So I wasn't really impressed by the plot, I wasn't really drawn in by the chemistry or the characters, so I was quite bored and also like disappointed that it didn't make me love it as much as I love Practice Makes Perfect, so I gave it 2.5 stars. Okay, then now let's go on to the next category where I called it Exciting Premise but Not So Good Execution. Okay, and we are starting off with Love of My Afterlife. The premise is so exciting, okay? Okay, I really love it when we have magical realism in contemporary romances. So this one is about Delphi. She died by choking on a burger, and then she's like, oh, okay, let me meet my Grim Reaper and then go on with my afterlife. And then afterwards she sees this guy running through a door yelling something about mystic, and then the stranger is sent back down to earth. Obviously the stranger is attractive, and so Delphi was like, oh my god, I could have finally had an almost meet cute, and now I'm dying and everything. And then afterwards she is offered a deal in which she can return to earth and reconnect with this mysterious man. Like, it's so exciting, right? It's so exciting, okay? I really wanted to love it. I really wanted it to be a favorite, but it ended up being a 3.5 stars. This book is because it was set in London, England, and so normally I have a bit of trouble reading British books, especially if the writing like rubs off a little strange on me, or they have a very big focus on how different British things are compared to American things. And then also I wasn't really drawn in by the characters in this, so I also felt like the plot was very predictable. It's a unique premise, but I watched this kind of premise happen quite a few times in K-dramas. Even if I know what the premise is, if you can wow me with like some parts of the plot or like make the characters likable, I'll still be okay. But this one didn't really wow me, and I was expecting so much for it because the premise was so interesting. So I gave it like a 3.5 stars, which is not a bad rating at all, but I just expected so much more for this. So yeah, really sad about that. I'm still gonna keep this on my shelf, hoping that the next time I read it again, I would love it more. That's how much I wanted to like this, okay? Next is The Spell Shop. For this, right, it's again a case of I really wanted to like this. So this one, it has very cozy elements because our female main character comes to stay in this old cottage in the middle of the woods, and then she has spell books. So then she starts to grow things using her spells, and then sets up a shop for herself, and then afterwards like people in the village slowly start to buy things from her. Nobody knows about the fact that she has the spell books. It's just that she grows things like jam, and then people start to buy her jam. And then it's like you're in this cozy town buying jam, and then it's like very cozy, all the cozy vibes, okay? But I didn't like this as much as I wanted to. Again, I gave it 3 stars. I think I have a problem with long books because this one was also because it was quite long. And then the pacing was quite slow as a result, and I was like getting bored because we weren't progressing as fast as I wanted the book to. So yeah, really nothing wrong. It's just I didn't vibe so much with the execution, okay? Then next, it is A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. Again, I was drawn in at the start and then turned off by the length. Oh my god. This one, right, the premise again is very exciting. Okay, this book is centered on the study of the languages spoken by dragons, and I really loved how academic the writing was. Like I was drawn in from the start. The writing and the world building I felt was done really well. The concept was also really unique, as I mentioned. And then afterwards, we have this sudden plot point wherein she is falling in love with a priest. Not a priest, but a guy who is studying to become a priest. Why? What is the reason for this? Like, why did the author want to make the female main character fall in love with a guy who is going to be a priest? Like, huh? And then afterwards, because it's so long, like the second half really started to drag for me, and it was getting very political, which, okay, I admit it is my problem because I don't really like political books, but the start was so good. It was really dragging towards the end, and so I thought this was a standalone as well. And then afterwards, the ending suggested a sequel, which there is now a confirmed sequel. So I'm not going to read that. I really wanted to love this, which is so sad. Maybe I should rename this to I really wanted to love this. Next is Nightmare Before Christmas, which I recently read for the Christmas video. And again, this one I was so excited by because the concept is again so exciting. This is a meal romance. And then one is a prince of Christmas, and then one is a prince of Halloween. And they fall in love with each other. Oh my god. This one I think it's maybe on me because okay, maybe it's not on me. Like this one was really, really, really political. And again, as I've mentioned multiple times, I don't really like when books get too political. I just want to have a happy time. I just want to not be engaged by politics, even when I'm reading, you know? Which is like, okay, that's not a good thing, but never mind. I was like not really impressed. And also the fact that I wanted to feel Christmas vibes, but this one was more, it was so political that it took away the joy of Christmas from me. We follow him trying to kind of organize a rebellion against Christmas because Father Christmas is like so enamored or like so focused on how can we make Christmas bigger. And then it's like gathering allies and things like that, and then I'm like, okay. And then also the romance wasn't like really drawing me in also. Their chemistry was like, again, it's the last. So my problem for all these books is it's the last, too long, pacing slow, too political. Yeah, it's like the same formula. Again, I really wanted to love this. I gave this 3 stars. Next is Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. Okay, Lynn Painter, I really love her YA books until this one. So you can imagine the disappointment, okay? Again, the premise sounded interesting because it's about fake dating, and I love fake dating. But it was like, eh. Because I read so many fake dating books, this one didn't really live up to the others. And also the fact that we have a miscommunication trope in this, which I don't really like already. and the fact that it wasn't really resolved to the extent that I wanted it to. Yeah, that's about it. The last book in this category is The Baby Dragon Cafe. So this one, again, it sounds really, really cute. So we follow our female main character who has a cafe. She opens a cafe for customers with pet baby dragons, and then she runs into local heartthrob Eden, who is a gardener. He has a pet dragon, a pet baby dragon, but his baby dragon is just very disobedient. And then afterwards, he has this very genius idea of asking the female main character to train his dragon, and then he will pay her enough to keep her cafe afloat. So I really wanted to love this. Okay, I really wanted to. Like, baby dragons, I'm thinking of freaking Toothless, but again, the execution really didn't live up to it. So it felt very young YA. The writing was very cringe, okay, super, super cringe. So for example, the writer writes OKIE, like okay in dialogues. Dialogues, like if it was in text, I would have been fine. But dialogues? Why? And then afterwards, the female character will be like, okay, feel. That's like my freaking primary school kind of writing when I try to write fan fiction, and then I'll be like, okay, feel okay. This is a published book. Oh my god. Another dialogue example. You had absolutely no reason to be stressed, girly. Girly, oh my god. Okay, maybe this one is okay because it's between friends, but oh my god, it was so cringe. It made the book really childish, even though I wanted it to not be. So yeah, I just gave it 2.25 stars. So that's this category done. Second last category, I will call this hype books that disappointed me. Oh my god, I am all over the place. This one is also in the meh category, The Crash by Frida McFadden. This one was okay in that it was a quick read and what I needed at the time because I was on holiday and just needed a quick read. But this one is nothing mind-blowing and it's nothing terrible. It's just meh. So I gave it 3 stars. I could guess where the story was going and I was like, girl, why are you doing the things that you do? That's about it. Okay, yeah. So first book in this category, we are starting off strong with A Little Life. I finally read this book this year. More like I started reading it in 2024 and it was a buddy read. So we were reading this quite slowly. Yeah, I finally finished it. Like, what an accomplishment, right? This should be one of my accomplishments for 2025. Finishing A Little Life. It's very, very hyped and also very, very controversial. I expected myself to love it more than I did. So this one I gave it 3.5 stars. I watched many non-spoiler videos of people reading this book and they're all like breaking down, crying, and then they talk about how the happy years are the worst. So I was prepared going in and then I wasn't hit as hard. Maybe you should go into this not knowing anything. But then there are also a lot of trigger warnings that you should know about. So it's like, I don't know. Personally, I didn't feel like it was sad enough to the point of crying. And I am a very emotional person. So maybe books just don't make me cry enough, but there are books that make me cry, so maybe this just didn't hit for me. The axiom of equality, however, hit me the most. Like, I felt the most in that arc. The longer this went on, the more I understood why this was being described as torture porn, because the author seems like bent on making you feel so much for the character and then tearing this character down until it shreds. He can never be happy. And I was becoming very dragged down by all the heavy emotions throughout this book. So I'm really happy that I was reading this with a friend because I don't think I would have finished this on my own. I would have DNF'd this, or maybe I would have just finished this, but it wouldn't have been as fun. It's so thick. Like, how many pages is this? This is 720 pages. That is insane. Yeah, it's insane. 720 pages. I've never read something so long in the recent years. So yeah, I wish that I have more thoughts than I can give you, but it really just fell short for me. Do you see the number of tabs? I was clearly feeling things, but then you can see towards like this part onwards, there are like no tabs at all because I was like, okay, it's getting too much. Maybe I'm just one of those people that don't get it as much as everyone else because I didn't hate it, I didn't love it either. I'm just in the middle. So yeah, it just didn't hit as much as I wanted it to. Next is The First Time Caller by B.K. Borson. And do you see how pretty this is? Oh my god, I am so sad. But again, it's not that it's terrible. Actually, most of the books in this category I gave 3.5 stars. So it's not a terrible rating. I just wanted to love it more. The main character is the host of this radio station's romance hotline. He gets entangled with the female main character when her daughter calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mom. The mom is invited to come join the station as like a guest, and then they have this like podcasting going on, and the chemistry is supposedly off the charts. So this one, I didn't really feel the chemistry because everyone is going on in this book about how, oh, they're so good with each other, da, 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 da. But then it just didn't come off that way to me. And also, I didn't like how the male main character was giving a lot of mixed signals to the female main character because he has a lot of issues of his own to unpack in therapy, but he refuses to go for therapy. He's in denial, basically. That's really about... I like the way that he resolved the act conflict, but I didn't like how he was giving her mixed signals at the start. And then, again, with the chemistry thing, I did like the rest of the story, like the side characters. The audiobook is really good as well because they really have the whole podcast element going on. They'll hit something to signal the start of the radio show, things like that. It just didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. Again, 3.5 star is definitely not a bad rating. It was just more of, I wanted more for you. Next is Beg, Borrow or Steal by Sarah Adams. Oh my god, I'm so sad. My favorite author is like having 2 books on my worst books this year. Goodness. So this one, it follows the same series that I really love of Sarah Adams. So this is the 3rd book in that series. It's been a while since I've read the first 2 books, so I don't really remember whether like their chemistry was kind of forewarned or foreshadowed in the first 2 books, but then when it came to this book, right, I didn't really feel the tension or the characters' chemistry between each other. Yeah, it was just like, okay, but also I thought that they were quite childish in dealing with each other, but then it just really didn't hit as much as I wanted it to compared to the other 2 books. That's the main gist of it. And also the fact that I don't really like enemies to lovers in contemporary romance because it's always because of something childish, you know, or like a misunderstanding, which again, I don't like. And then their antics towards each other are so childish afterwards also. The fact that I still managed to give this 3.5 stars is quite miraculous, I would say. So it's okay lah, it's okay. Like, it's just, I wanted more for you and it just disappointed me. 3.5 stars. This one, I remember my thoughts quite clearly. This one is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. So sad. Okay, this one also has a very interesting premise as with all of Ashley Poston's books. We follow our female main character who somehow manages to enter the setting of her favorite book series. So she is now in this town called Alorton. And then she sees this guy, the grumpy bookshop owner, is her male main interest in this story. So this setting sounds very delicious, right? Oh my god, like which reader doesn't want to be in the setting of their favorite character? Okay, I mean maybe not fantasy because then you'll die, but but like what the heck? And then the female main character's reaction is very mild. Her reaction when she finds out that she's in this town of her favorite series, she's like, oh cool, okay, like huh? And afterwards, when she finds out suspicious things about the male main character, she doesn't question it. The author just writes it out to us. She just experiences it, and then afterwards, the story goes on. Like, huh? Are you just not a curious character? Like, I don't understand, okay? I had issues with the female main character, that's what I'm trying to say. The guy was okay. The guy was quite green flag and he made me swoon 2 times with the number of quotes I have tapped here. Just, yeah, I wanted more. I really expected more for this super, super interesting premise that I would love to read more of. So, yeah. Then now we have a very, 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 very big book. Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Oh my god, I haven't been enjoying Emily Henry's recent books, which is a little sad. Okay lah. It's like half now. The number of books that I like versus the number of books that I don't like. This one was kind of in the category where I don't like it because this one feels too similar to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo already, except we have a touch of romance. So both our characters are writers. They are like biography writers, I think. And then they are both competing to see who can become the person who writes this super famous celebrity's biography. She's like quite old already. She's like an older lady. She has been out of the media's eye for like many years. So the female main character hunted her down, and then that's where she managed to like talk to her and like give herself a shot at writing her biography. But then the author was like, since I have 2 potential candidates, let's battle it out. So both of you will have time with me every day of the week, and then you can see what you get from there, and then I will also be assessing you based on our interactions. So it's also kind of like competing. Then they're also kind of like attracted to each other, but I didn't really like it. The attraction was just meh for me. This book made me realize that I don't really like reading about famous people and I didn't feel the chemistry between the 2 main characters also. So no chemistry between the 2 main characters, no interest in the famous person, and that's literally the whole premise of the book. So it's like I should have DNF'd, right? But I wanted to push through just to see whether it would change my mind, but I clearly didn't. And also, like, I have a very random memory of reading about this book, and then they would leave things on the floor outside of their doors because they happen to be living at the same hotel. And that just made me think, like, oh my god, isn't there a lot of like dirt on the floor, and you leave like drinks or like bags of like maybe pastries, and then who knows whether there'll be ants or maybe flies, and by the time the person opens it, like, oh my god, overthinking too much. Okay, but yeah, this is my least favorite Emily Henry. I hope the next Emily Henry will be better. That's all I'm gonna say. Next category already. I think it's the last one. Okay, this last category, I called it books that I reach finished. Actually, I think the first book, Incidents Around the House, I pushed myself to finish this because I needed to read this for a video. But I would have probably DNF'd it, which is quite interesting because before this, I thought most horror books that I read would scare me, but this one was the first, I think, that didn't scare me. The concept was very interesting also because, especially if you listen to the audiobook, this book, right, is written from the perspective of the child in the story. So the audiobook narrator also has the child's voice. And I thought that was quite interesting because then you see things happening from the child's point of view. And also because the story is centered around the child. This child sees this other mummy who tries to enter a hut. It went off on a good start, but then the writing kind of fell flat, or was it the plot? I don't know. I wasn't very drawn in, and I wasn't very scared, as I mentioned. I just couldn't get into the story, and I felt like I could have just skipped the whole middle and then just read to the end and then see what happens. Because in the middle is just them trying different things to see what would make other mummy go away. So I gave this 2 stars. And that's not even the worst. That's like the least worst of this category already. Okay, next book that I reached finished. The Year of the Witching. I own this book, which is why I had to finish it. And oh my god. I think my Goodreads review captures my thoughts on this best. I'm gonna read out to you. It's a culty religious mess with an overly thick plot. No charm to any of the characters, and succeeded in putting me in a reading slump and slowed down my reading speed by a month. Yeah, that's about it. The ending was also super unsatisfying. Like, I pushed through because 1, I owned the book, and 2, I wanted to see how the main villain in this would be given his punishment. I pushed through to see him be given mercy. The same pedophile who has multiple young wives in the name of religion, who impregnated a young wife since she was 13 and caused the said young wife to die during birth because he tried to keep her childbirth quiet. There's no justice. Okay, there is a time for things when, okay, we need to end this cycle. If not, it will just be a toxic cycle of going on and on, like revenge and then another revenge. But then there is also a time where you need to exact revenge because this guy is too messed up to be given mercy. Oh my god. Yeah, 1.75 stars. Oh, I love how you can see all the books just slowly like toppling over. We are almost done. We have 2 books left. Okay, let me talk about the lower rating one first. Out of Sight, I gave 1.25 stars. I also reached finish this because I own the book. Wouldn't have read this otherwise. I was very mind blown because this has like more than 4 stars on Goodreads, and I was like, what? Why? As I was reading this. Clearly, military fiction isn't for me. I mean, I could finish it quickly. That's all I can say. But the actual things that happen, I was just like, I'm not really interested. Like, what is happening? What is the point? Why is the story so long? It could be shorter. Many grievances were felt. And then I'm just like, okay, I don't really care what's happening. It's kind of like Taken. It's just that this one, the main character is female because her husband and daughter were kidnapped. But then in Taken, his daughter was kidnapped. It wasn't even very exciting. Maybe because like the way that she took them down was just very quick. And then it was just like, oh, why is her family taken away? And then you slowly see that happening, and then it's just like, oh, okay, for this reason, like, you know? Yeah, so, okay. You know why I want to end with the next book? Because I have so much more thoughts on that one. The last book. My worst book of the year. Okay, I really love my Goodreads reviews because I just want to read it out. Packing Daisies on Sundays is super popular on BookTok, okay? I think Bookstagram also. And I was like, okay, I'm so excited to read this. Let me read it. And then when I started reading it, I was like, what? Why is this so hype? Let's talk about the good parts first, okay? Because I haven't talked about this book anywhere, so this deserves a full review. Good parts first. This was self-published, so really huge respect to the author. I managed to read most of this in one sitting, so it was an easy read. So props to the author for that. The tolerable parts, I liked that the guy wrote a book of poems in French and gave her a copy of his book to her to read. And it's all about her. Like, the chapters start off with verses and then they all end up being part of his book of poems about her. I also do relate to the female main character's insecurities and her wanting to experience love that makes her overwhelmed with emotion. Okay, actually maybe I should talk about what this book is about first, right? Our female main character has a childhood best friend called Levi. She was like kind of having a crush on him, but then afterwards he told her that he didn't feel the same way and she vowed to never see him again. 4 years later, she saw him again in a crowded bar and then he asked her to be his fake girlfriend for his sister's wedding. And then it's like second chance. Then they kind of like fake date also. That's about it. Now let's continue on with the bad. The writing is so bad. It is self-published, so okay, I give it to you, but it's so bad. It really pains me to say this because I read Wattpad growing up and I read Wattpad stories with better writing. So examples, right? There are very weird similes. Kneading at the bottom of my shorts like dough, and then also got up and shoved her arms into the closet as if she was parting the sea. Why? Just say that she like looked through the closet lah. What? I don't want to see anyways ever again. It was used so much in this book, okay? And then all the grammar errors, like too many introductory phrases or clauses without the second clause to make the sentence complete, not enough commas being used. There's a weird transition from past tense to present tense, using wrong words also, wandering with an O instead of wandering with an A, Y-O-U-R instead of Y-O-U''RE, T-O-O instead of T-O. And then also like words being used as speech text when they shouldn't be. We have like the classic let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. We are not in 2014 anymore. And then we have like awkward phrases like introverted smile. What is an introverted smile? Please tell me. What? And then I spoke with my entire heart. Okay, that was still okay. Trying to escape any sadness. His hands were assigned to the small ones. Huh? I guess we're speaking like humans again. Eyes were directed in a sad gaze. Eyes were directed in a sad gaze. She had the same level of outwardness as this person. Same level of outwardness. Okay, I'm being too mean. Okay, now calm down. I understand. It's just, I'm quite particular about writing. You're an author. You punk was being used as like a phrase of affection between the two MCs, which made me feel more cringe than anything. The tone of the book felt really juvenile. One, because of the writing. Our female main character is 22, but she reads like a teenager. And the book felt like the female main character was writing in a diary and I was reading her diary. She also randomly addresses the reader as well. So it kind of like, is this a diary? And then number 3, my least favorite miscommunication trope is back again. Their whole story was because of a misunderstanding perpetuated by miscommunication. So if you just talk to each other, you would have resolved it. And then we have character inconsistencies. Most of it is about Levi because she was confused about him liking her or not because Levi kept giving her mixed signals like going to prom with many different girls, kissing many different girls, and he has like a whole thing with his ex also. And then afterwards, she was applying for grad school and she decided to go to the one that accepted her in Paris. So she needs to go to Paris for a year. And to give some context, Levi is a big family guy because his dad passed away. So he's the only guy in the family left with 2 super young sisters. So he was quite big on like staying at home all the time to be with his sisters so that they don't feel like they're missing a dad figure. And his ex didn't like that or kind of insinuated that he's not good enough because he puts too much focus on his siblings. But then when the whole Paris thing happened, he ended up moving to Paris with her because he conveniently had a work opportunity there too. So it's not about her ex, it was about whether Levi wanted to or not. Huh? Okay, like maybe he finally realized, okay, I need to start choosing myself. But it's like, at least show some explanation. It wasn't shown, okay? And then like the commitment to his family also like gone. I think it was kind of mentioned that his older sister was moving closer to the family, so she and the husband will be close by to help out and things like that. But I would have wanted him to like having a headache about this more, instead of just like giving me one sentence like, oh, she'll cover it, then he can go off. Like, huh? One last thing inconsistency about Daisy is that she mentioned that she doesn't like daisies because she thinks it's arrogant to like something associated with her own name, but he kept buying her daisies and she doesn't correct him, and in her words, she melted. Last final part is miscellaneous. I didn't really like that. She didn't go on a journey of self-discovery and self-love to overcome her insecurities, but Levi helped her realize that she is a great person. That's about it. So I give it 1.5 stars. I rage finished this because out of all the books, right, this was the one book that I was like, oh my god, I need to finish this so that I can give this a bad rating and rant on Goodreads about why I didn't like it. So yeah, with that being said, I've come to the end of this video. I hope I wasn't too mean and I hope nobody is offended. I We'll leave you here. Let me know what's the worst book you read in 2025. Not that I'm going to read it, I just want to know the tea. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to this channel to see more of such content. I hope you're having a great day or a great week whenever or wherever you're watching. Remember to stay hydrated, and I'll see you in my next video. Also, this is the first video I'm filming in 2026, so happy 2026 again.